Welcome back to the FNZ 90 Plus Free podcast, where free football supporters take a look into the dressing room, chatting to former professional footballers, in some cases, as tonight's current professional footballers, about their experiences on and off the pitch. I'm your host, Ashley Simons. If you're listening to us via our podcast services, do not forget to give us that 5-star rating and share where possible. Tonight, I'm joined by an extravagant pairing of Tux and Bex. Now, lads, tonight, so, something a bit different. I firstly pick up on your locations and what you're wearing. So, Bex, you're wearing an AC Milan shirt, mate. Tell us your thoughts behind that one.
It's top quality, always good jerseys. And I thought with our guest coming on, he's well known for playing in very similar colours to what AC Milan play. So I thought it was a little bit of a visual clue. Obviously, people know who we've got on because they've clicked on the episode.
Yeah, and Tux, true to your word, mate, you made your way up and you're in the Rovers return this week.
Yeah, so last time out, I was in the Queen Vic, waiting for Dyer to pour me a pint. I'm now in the Rovers return, waiting for, I can't even remember who's the bloody landlady or landlord.
How's the hot pot?
Yeah, hot pot's really good. Betty's not been about for ages, but the actual hot pot itself is fantastic.
It looks a bit brassic in here, mate. I'm not going to lie. I mean, there's nobody in there.
No, there isn't. I've booked it out, mate. I've booked out the venue for you. +3.
You're loaded, mate. Right. So let's allude to the big fact tonight. We've got 3 Marks on the channel tonight. So let's not get confused. We've got Tux, we've got Bex, but tonight we're joined by a player who is best known for his role at AFC Bournemouth, where he spent 9 seasons gaining 2 promotions, and is currently applying his trade at QPR. It's Marc Pugh. Marc, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, mate? I'm good, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. But yeah, all good. Can't complain. All good, mate.
Yeah, lovely job.
How are you?
Yeah, we're brilliant, mate. So, Marc, as a brand new guest on the 90 Plus Free show, you won't be familiar with the format, so let me just set the scene for you. Just imagine you're in that pub, the Rovers return, and you've had one too many beers, and you're willing to share your whole career with 3 complete randomers. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's sound, mate. Not a problem.
Brilliant. Right. Tux will kick us off with the questions. Go for it, mate.
Marc, thanks again for coming on our podcast tonight. Over the course of your career to date, you've represented the likes of Kidderminster Harriers, Bury, Shrewsbury Town, including spells at both Luton Town, Hereford United. Not forgetting, obviously, the magic of AFC Bournemouth, a loan spell at Hull City, and now obviously turning out for QPR. But before we move into your professional career, I'd like to start off with some childhood memories relating to football. So whether that be with the family, supporting a team, or watching games on TV in a stadium, perhaps. What moments stand out for you the most growing up?
Yeah, growing up, I was a Burnley fan. Big Burnley fan. My family were all Burnley fans, and we used to, between them and Man United, really. My dad used to get tickets for the European nights at United. I remember going watching United against Basel in the Champions League. Unbelievable night. The tunes at half time were the Bee Gees back then, so that was makes me feel old, actually. But no, I got some great memories. I used to love watching football. It's what I lived for. It was all I ever dreamt as a kid. I wanted to be a professional footballer. I never had a plan B. I look back and I was always good in school, but I always wish I'd have worked harder to educate myself. But saying that, my main goal was to be a footballer, and if it had changed anything, then maybe I wouldn't have achieved my goals. And I look back and I've had a great career, but hopefully there's a lot more to come now.
So where would you say that the Burnley connection you mentioned there comes from, and obviously going to United as well, watching the big games, but your affiliation with Burnley from a very young age, where do you think that began?
Yeah, I was born in Bury, and we lived in between Bury and Burnley, and a lot of my family supports Burnley, and we used to go watching them, and I just used to love Andy Payton back in the day, striker, and I just used to love watching Glenn Little, and Gaza was there for a stint, and I was 15, 16, I was ball boying for him at the time, and I just got a real passion for it. I loved watching football, and it was my local team, and I got to the odd game or two, and I just grew to love them. And The supporters are amazing, and there was always a good atmosphere there. So yeah, that was probably why I just stuck with them.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds as if football was a big part to play in your childhood, whether that be through sort of Burnley and again going to the big nights at Old Trafford and things like that. But being a fan and then dedicating your time to becoming professional yourself. What kind of sacrifices did you have to make in that early part of your career?
Yeah, I had to make a lot of sacrifices. I mean, my mum and dad, they travelled everywhere to get me to games, training. I not from a young age. I weren't training 3-4 times a week in the evenings, but I went to an academy just to work on my technique from 4 or 5 years old. Just loved it, absolutely loved it. And then as I got a little bit older, of 13, 14, started taking it a little bit more seriously. There was a lot more travelling involved. I just enjoyed my football. I mean, a lot of young kids these days think, I need to be in an academy from the ages 8, 9, 10, when you should be just enjoying your football. I didn't sign for, I went to Bury first. I was told I wasn't good enough, and then Burnley spotted me for my local team. I was playing for Michelin at the time. It was Michelin tyres. Scored quite a few goals. Went for a trial to Burnley. It all clicked into place. I had a great coach in Terry Pashley, who made me the player I am today. I learned a lot from him. But yeah, it was. I just loved it. I love kicking a ball against the wall. I love doing the things kids love to do. And I think when you're a young kid and aspiring footballer, I think the best advice I can give them is just enjoy it and work hard. One of my favourite quotes in life, which I've always stuck by from a young age, is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I stand by that to this day.
Yeah, so obviously you touched upon your time sort of coming through at Burnley. Obviously being a Burnley fan as well, it must have been really special to, obviously being that, the part of the club from a very young age. Coming through the ranks there, and then ultimately you made your first team debut elsewhere though at Kidderminster during a loan spell. Unfortunately, you were released by Burnley, the club that you supported where you ultimately joined Bury. Talk me through the disappointment of leaving Turf Moor, but also going into an equally tough period, for Bury as they battled relegation.
Yeah, it was really disappointing at the time. Like I said, I had a loan spell when I was 17 at Kidderminster. Got on the showboat then because I was buzzing for a little rainbow flick. That was good memories. But yeah, it was really disappointing. Under Stan Turner, who was the manager at the time, you guys are probably a little bit too young to remember him actually.
Yeah.
He really liked me, and I was on the bench, Villa Park away in the Carling Cup back then it was called. I was 16 years old. He loved me, and then a change of manager. Stan Turner he left, and Steve Cotterill came in. And for one reason or another, he didn't think I was good enough. I was 18 years old. I scored 27 goals in, I think, 17 games in the reserve and youth team football. I couldn't buy a training session with the first team. So I grew a pair. I went into his office and I had an honest conversation with him and just said, what do I need to do? Do you think I'm good enough? And he basically told me I wasn't good enough. But looking back, it was a real kick in the teeth, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it was around March time, so I looked for myself another club. I got about 7 or 8 games with Bury. They signed me on a short-term contract till the end of the season, and I'd done well. And then they gave me a year contract, and I played 40. I think it was 43 games that season at 19 years old. So it was a real good challenge for me, and it brought me into the man's world. I could have maybe signed a contract with Burnley and just played reserve and youth team football for like 3 or 4 years. So it was a blessing looking back.
Mark, for whatever reason, it didn't work out at Shrewsbury and you found yourself on loan at Hereford United, a club which has since been dissolved. Despite being relegated to League Two that year, you signed a 1-year contract with them. Was this the point in your career where you felt you had to show your worth?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've had it quite a lot. Actually, it was a massive season for me. Basically, I had 1.5, 2 years at Shrewsbury, which were really good, and then another change of manager told I wasn't good enough. I was actually on my honeymoon at the time when I told I was getting released in my final year at Shrewsbury really well, and they wanted to sign me. So a couple of days later, once Shrewsbury had told me I was getting released, for giving me that opportunity. And I remember having the comment, now this is make or break. I was 23 years old at the time. I knew I needed a good season, and I scored 13 goals. 3 of them were against Bournemouth, 2 in the home fixture, 1 in the away fixture. And that really helped me because I knew they were interested in me. I knew they were quite keen. Scouts were coming watching me and that. So it was a good game to score quite a few goals in, and the rest is history. I signed for Bournemouth. But yeah, like you say, it was a massive season for me. And I needed to perform. I knew that.
Yeah, so like you say, as a midfielder, you'd probably say you overachieved in that season. You finished that season with 13 goals in 46 appearances. And following that, you chose to sign a 3-year deal with AFC Bournemouth. Best decision you've ever made?
Yeah, unbelievable decision. I mean, we were driving down because we're originally from up north, and we were thinking, oh, this is a long way. But no, we met the gaffer, Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall, and we just instantly clicked. His philosophy to play football is, he was just a genuinely brilliant guy all round, honest, genuine, plays a great style of football, and among all that, he wanted to be successful, and that just proves that how incredible he's done for the club at this moment in time, that it was a real good decision and the best decision, like I say, of my life.
Yeah, so the duration of your initial contract was 3 years, and you spent all of that in League One. During the first 2 seasons, you scored some 25 goals in 96 appearances from midfield. Firstly, some would say you were better than League One at the time. Would you agree? And secondly, were you ever close to leaving the Cherries at any point?
I've always believed I was good enough for, better than League One, that kind of thing. I've had a lot of doubters. A lot of people have said I'm not good enough for, League Two, never mind League One. And I think it was a real confidence booster to get. I set off on fire in my first season. I think it was on around 10, 11 goals by Christmas. And I was flying. I was loving it. I was playing my football, absolutely loving it. And yeah, I believed I could play in the Championship, the Premier League. And I think that's the biggest thing for young footballers. Once you stop believing in yourself, then you're struggling. No matter how bad a game you've had the previous Saturday, just continue, the process, and never get too high with the highs, too low with the lows. Just keep grounded, keep working hard, and if you believe in yourself, you think you're good enough, then your performances will show.
Yeah, so obviously at this point in your career, we're saying you're 25, 26 years old, pushing on 27. The rest is history, though. You were subsequently promoted to the Championship, and where within 2 years you were promoted to the Premier League. That 2014-15 season must have been memorable. I can remember you guys being completely unbeatable. I mean, you come to Portman Road and you actually played Ipswich off the park that week, and you just brilliant. Like, what was that like to be part of a squad like that?
It was incredible. That just came from the lads' willingness to work hard for each other and the gaffer. Day-to-day training, the standards were so high. He comes across as an amazing guy and very well spoken in camera. But if you let your standards drop in training, he'll let you know about it. And we had a group, staff, coaches, players who just wanted to be successful. With that team, rose from some of them League Two, and most of us League One up to the Premier League. There's still quite a few of them now who was in League One. And, we didn't have a lot of money. Bournemouth weren't financially in a good place back then. We were living within our means, really. And that team, we just wanted to bring success to the football club and for our families as well, because you want to give your family a good life. And that's what it's all about. Yeah, you enjoy playing football, but you've got to have that carrot at the end of it, whether it, you set yourself your goals, whether it be money, whether it be scoring goals, whether it be, you've got to set your goals and your standards high. And we did that as a team and as a group.
Yeah, it was brilliant to see. I mean, I can remember I think it was the back four, where the same back four played in League Two and went all the way through the leagues, up into the Premier League. It was incredible. But I remember obviously yourself, Ryan Fraser. I mean, you had Brett Pittman was there at the time as well. I remember did you have Kenwyn Jones on loan that
We
season?
did,
as well?
yeah. He scored against you, actually.
Yeah, he did. Oh, God.
Ryan came to you guys, didn't he?
Yeah,
The
he
wee
did.
man.
What a player. Great
Yeah,
player.
great lad. Yeah, he's one of my close friends, actually. And no, like that team, were just we worked on it daily. It was no coincidence that like our rotations, I mean, they were incredible. Like when our centre half got the ball, our fullback would go high, our midfielder would come wide. Me as a winger, I'd come into the pocket, and it was impossible for teams to deal with when it was, it was the timing, and they just couldn't deal with it. And it was great to be a part of, great to play in, because we all knew our roles. I was playing on the left with Charlie Daniels, and we were causing all sorts of problems that side. Simon Francis, Matt Ritchie on the other side. And then we had goals in our team and solidarity as well. So it was just an all-round great team.
Would you say in some sense it was surprising that you finished, top of the league that season?
I think after the first season, because we had our struggles in the first season, we played some good stuff, but we weren't really experienced at that level. We didn't really have that cutting edge, and we played some lovely football, but we conceded too many goals. We were making mistakes, and we weren't really seeing games out. So I think when we played Huddersfield in our second season away and we beat them 4-0, I scored after, I think it was about 16 seconds. We scored a really quick goal, and we blew them away, and that's when we really started to believe. We went away to Birmingham, we beat them 8-0. We went away to Fulham, beat them 5-1. And I think that Fulham game was a turning point, and we thought, yeah, we've really achieved something this season.
Mark, obviously, when that Bournemouth side went up, I think, a lot of people, paper doesn't win football games, but looking at that squad on paper, a lot of people probably writ you off before you even started. What was sort of the mentality when you went up? Because obviously, like you said, Bournemouth didn't have a lot of money, and sticking with players that they've had in League One. What was sort of Eddie Howe's and the club's philosophy? Was it purely just making sure you stayed up that season, or was it just sticking with those philosophies that you mentioned?
One of the main factors was play with no fear. Just show no fear. Don't concentrate on the names you're coming up against on the team sheet. Concentrate on your own performance, work hard. And yeah, it was obviously the main aim was staying up, but we had a real tough start to the season. We played Villa first game of the season, lost 1-0, we battered them, but Rudy Gestede scored a header, and we were looking in the changing rooms at the end of it thinking, this is what the Premier League's all about. You don't take your chances, you're going to get punished. We went away to Liverpool next week, got absolutely thumped. And then we beat West Ham 4-3 away from home, the third game of the season. And that was a massive result. As soon as you get a win in the Premier League, that breeds confidence. And we went on from there. We picked up some great results. And the main aim was staying up, but we exceeded expectations. And, we had a group of players who just enjoyed football, enjoyed being there. And we knew we hadn't achieved anything. I think once you get to a point, I've played in the Premier League, you don't stop there. You've just got to keep trying to achieve more. And that squad wanted to do that.
Yeah, I think like one thing we've noticed of Eddie Howe is, he's very loyal to players that have served him well and done really well for him. And I think, as you said, they didn't have a lot of money going up. Do you think sort of the loyalty the manager showed to the group of lads, that had got in there really sort of helped you push on and really sort of cement Bournemouth as the Premier League club as they are today? Do you think rather than having that, you expect teams to, when they come up to make sort of 5 or 6 really big signings with the money they get, but you sort of kept Eddie and the club kept loyal to the players that had done him good? Do you think that had played a big effect for you?
Yeah, it was massive. A lot of the championship winning season, our team, our characters, our team unity, it played a massive part. And I think 10 of the 11 that got the team promoted from the Championship played in the first game of the season in the Premier League. So that was massive for me, to give us the opportunity to go out and showcase against world-class players, the best in the world. It played a massive part, and he's really big on that, actually. I think if you sign the wrong characters and bring in the wrong players, then it could disrupt the rhythm. You're going out to training and you've got someone, with a head down and, tossing it off a little bit, then it brings out a bad vibe, and it's infectious. And if you surround yourself with positive people and you've got positive people around, then you're going to be successful. And we had that in abundance, to be fair.
Yeah, and so you've obviously been born for obviously the most successful part of your career under the same manager in Eddie Howe. What sort of changes have you seen in Eddie as he's one of the hottest prospects as a coach who's still, when there is a vacancy at a big club, he's one of the first names that's always linked. What are the sort of the change that you've seen Eddie Howe go through when he's where he is today? And also, is there a side to Eddie that we don't always see? He's always sort of this young, fresh-faced lad that we see sort of in front of the TV cameras, and you can never imagine him saying boo to a ghost, really. But is he a completely different character, sort of behind the scenes sometimes?
He'll never change. He's, if anything, he's got more determined. He's aware the Premier League's getting tougher and tougher because obviously before COVID-19, the finances were just through the roof, and the amount of money being spent on players were ridiculous. Squads were getting a lot better. You see the gulf now, other than obviously Liverpool and City, teams are beating everyone. And that, the bottom 10 in the Premier League, you couldn't pick a result. For people who love a coupon, it was like there was coupon busters going on all over the place. So I just think he's such a determined character. But behind the scenes, like I say, he demands high standards, whether it be his coaches, whether it be his players. If you drop your standards, he'll let you know about it, and he won't let you get away with it. He's really on that. You've got to conduct yourself properly. He's great in front of the cameras. He's a great man manager. He knows how to speak to his players. But when you're on that training ground, you train. If you don't train to the best of your ability, then he'll certainly tell you about it. We've had if something doesn't go your way as a player and you have a moan or what have you, he'll be on you.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. And you're a key member of that Bournemouth squad. In their first few seasons in the Premier League, racking up some solid appearances and contributing heavily to why they're so successful. But unfortunately, obviously, your game time dwindled as Bournemouth sort of became more established, sort of bringing in more established, or getting the money that maybe the Premier League gives. Giving them a little more. Opening their eyes to different markets. So was it quite frustrating for yourself, or did you feel, you've been part of a complete resurgence of this club that was minutes from folding? Do you feel sort of grateful, but still a little bit frustrated at the same time, maybe towards the end?
Yeah, I was really frustrated, to be honest. I mean, because I felt, in my honest opinion, I should have got a little bit more game time, but for one reason or another, that didn't happen. I was training really well. It was around October, November, when I had a conversation with the gaffer, Eddie, in my final season at Bournemouth, my 9th season, because I hadn't really featured on the bench, that kind of thing. I was coming into my last year of my contract. And I was just honest with him. I said, look, I need to play some football. I've not been involved. I'm working hard all week, and I'm having a running session on a Saturday when the lads are going out playing against Man City, that kind of thing. And it's really frustrating. And he said, well, look, he said, the club aren't in a position to offer you a new contract for one reason or another. I don't know the ins and outs of it all. So if you haven't played any football come January, I'll let you go out and get some football. So he was true to his word. I went on loan to Hull City. It was really frustrating because I love Bournemouth. I could have stayed there and fought for my place if I had another contract. But you get forgetting in football if you're not playing football. So I wanted to get myself back out there in the shop window. I went to Hull. It was a frustrating start because I didn't play for 5-6 games. The wingers, Grzycki and Bourne were on fire, understandably. And then I slotted into the number 10 role, and I think I scored like 3 goals, got 3 assists in 10 starts. So it set me up nicely. But yeah, it was really frustrating to leave Bournemouth. I have a lot of love for the fans. I've made some lifelong friends, and it was amazing what the club's achieved, and I'm so grateful. And I look back, and I did everything I could, and I'd have loved to have stayed there, but it just wasn't the case.
Before we just go into your career as it is now, one question that I would like to sort of just touch upon as Beck sort of came onto it, Eddie Howe. I mean, as Beck said, he's been linked with every top job going, but could you see him as an England manager? Do you think he's the future England manager after Gareth Southgate, maybe?
100%. I mean, he's got a real eye for young talent and developing young talent. He seems very similar to Gareth Southgate. I mean, he made some massive decisions early on in his reign with England to, get rid of some of the experienced players and bring some young talent in, and they're doing amazing at the minute. But yeah, he's got everything. Some of his coaching sessions right out of this world. I mean, if you were to watch some of his sessions, like before we go out for training, he'd bring them up on the screen and you'd be like mind boggled. You'd be like, how's he actually come to this conclusion that this drill is actually going to work? And it's so relevant to the game you're playing. So if you're playing a Norwich or whoever, every session he puts on is relevant to the team you're playing and how to hurt them. Their weaknesses, their strengths, and it's just incredible. Yeah, I definitely see him as an England manager long term.
Do you think there's maybe like a danger of him potentially sort of, I don't know, not outgrowing Bournemouth, but staying there too long and then not getting maybe a bigger job that he might deserve, or that England job if he continues his loyalty with Bournemouth?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one because, like, Bournemouth financially in the Premier League, they've achieved so much, and how much more can they actually achieve? I'm not too sure. We've got 9 games. Is it 9 games left now of the season to come? And it's going to be a real battle at the bottom of the table. And who knows what the future holds for him? But I hold him in such high regard. And like you say, it's he's probably been close maybe a few times to leaving. I don't know what's happened behind the scenes because he's had a lot of interest and he's usually quite high up with a book. I think I remember the Everton job, the Arsenal job. So yeah, it just depends. If he's happy at Bournemouth and he loves the lifestyle, loves being at Bournemouth, and he thinks like he can achieve more for the football club, then he'll stay. But once he stops achieving what he wants to achieve, then he's an ambitious guy. I don't know what his plans are with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think his situation kind of reminds me a little bit of David Moyes, where obviously he was at Everton for quite a long while, but then got the big move to United and didn't quite work out for him. And maybe he might regret that in a way, where he thinks that he could have stayed at Everton and progressed a bit further. But I mean, back to your career. So you were sent out on loan to Hull City, which obviously Bex has already covered, but where you unfortunately broke your toe during that loan spell. If it wasn't for that injury, do you think it would have been a club you might have opted to actually stay at permanently?
You know what? There was 2 games left, and I broke my toe against Sheffield United, and what a nightmare of an injury that was. It was still sore 3 months later. I went on. I found out QPR wanted to sign me towards the back end of pre-season. To be honest, it was a real long wait for a club to come in for me. I weren't sure what was happening with my future. I thought it'd be really easy being on a free transfer. And, I went to Hull. I made some really good performances. And I thought, oh, yes, surely, a club will want me in that. But it seemed to drag on forever. But, yeah, I mean, Hull City, great club. I'd have probably stayed there if Nigel Atkins was still there, because I'm not sure what happened. I think he got sacked at the end of that season, and he really liked me. We got on really well. His coaching staff, they were great. And either probably wanted to sign me, but for one reason or another, he left and change of manager, change of plans. And I don't know what happened with that one, but I was so fortunate that, the gaffer Mark Warburton came in and took me to QPR. I went back in training with them. It was towards the end of July, actually, and my toe was still in agony. So, yeah, breaking my toe, it's probably one of the worst injuries I've had, and it was only my little toe as well.
Yeah. So, obviously, like you touched upon there, it takes us up to the present day with your time at QPR. You signed a 1-year deal with the club last summer. How do you think the season went for you personally and collectively as a club, despite disruption from the pandemic?
Yeah, personally, it was. It took me a while to get into the team. We've got some great young talent in my position. We've got Iberi Eze, we've got Ilias Chair, Brighty, and 3 unbelievably gifted players. And I had to bide my time. And yeah, it was tough at first. I was doing a lot more travelling from my home in Bournemouth, so it was a real challenge. Something I've absolutely loved, because no one's guaranteed a place in football, no matter whether you come from the Premier League, whoever. You've got to work hard for your shirt. And I played the last 6 games before obviously COVID hit, and we were unbeaten in 6, playing some really good football. So no, I'm really pleased. We're 6 points off the playoffs. We've been on a good little run now. So challenging, but as a team, we've got everything we need to try and get promotion. Really, we've got the ability to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So before I hand you back to Ash, you're now at the dizzy heights of 33 years of age, and looking to continue your career, whether that be, with QPR or elsewhere in the future. Obviously remains to be seen. But what do you think your options will be when you eventually do call time on your career as a footballer in the future?
Yeah, well, I definitely want to go. I love fitness, nutrition. I've set up my new page, the Foodie Footballer, which I plan in the next year and a half to release a cookbook, a nutrition book, fitness book, all in one, just with things I've learned. And, when I was younger, I've made mistakes, whether it be recovering, whether it be the fuel I've used for games, that kind of thing. And it's basically a book that I want it to appeal to everyone, not only athletes, not footballers, just for people who love the gym, keeping fit, all that kind of thing. So, I want to go down that route, I think. I love fitness, nutrition. It's my passion. And, something along them lines, really, after football.
It's been thoroughly enjoyable listening to you, and obviously your story, your career so far, and obviously picking up on one thing, right? When we started this channel, we set ourselves a task of getting one player on before episode 10. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you may have been involved with this player at your boyhood club back in 2004. Now, you said you were only 17, so I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I'd say you would have been touching the first team at the time. This player went on loan to Burnley at the exact same point and scored 1 goal in 4 games.
Gaza.
No, not Gaza. I'm putting out a win here. Did you ever play or know Dele Adebola?
Dele Adebola, I played. I was on the bench when he was playing. I knew of him, but I didn't know him to speak to. But big striker.
God, we cannot get anybody who knows the bloke. You're the first person we've had that's played with him out of all the people we've spoken to, and nobody seems to know him at all.
No, I know who he is, but
everyone knows who he is. He's just an enigma. He's got no content.
An enigma.
I don't know, boys. Back to the drawing board. Tux, back on the recruitment drive, mate.
Trying to think or know him. Maybe Giffen Noel Williams.
He was a player, Gifton Noel Williams.
Yeah, before he got his injuries with his knee and that. He might know him, I don't know, because he was at Burnley for a stint, weren't he?
Yeah,
yes,
I forgot he was there,
I've got an inkling that if we can get Adi Akinbai, we can get Dele Adebola.
So, Mark, you mean to say that you didn't have Dele Adebola on the back of your Burnley shirt then?
You know what? I don't think so. I had Glenn Little and Robbie Blake. What a player he was.
Yeah, Robbie Blake, what a player he was.
Yeah, Robbie Blake was a player. Yeah, the players I used to look up to, Glenn Little, he was brilliant back in the day, and Robbie Blake. Yeah, so
some good ones there, didn't you? You did.
Yeah.
And obviously Burnley had their own story, didn't they, where they got promoted to the Premier League. That was just after that period there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I can't believe they've done incredible. He's done an unbelievable job there, Sean Dyche has. But they've done amazing, especially with the budget. They haven't really invested massively either. They've just stuck to the philosophy and what they believe in, and it's worked for them.
Yeah, they've done really well. Well, Mark, anyway, look, thanks for coming on tonight, mate. Really appreciate it. And look, whatever happens in the future, just take care and good luck, mate, all right?
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Mark.
Take care, mate.